Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Chassidus in the morning, 15 minutes to change your life. We're learning Kein from the Rebbe, Yud Gimel, and this shir is for Shlema for Mala Bas Zelda. You should have a speedy for Shlema and should have only good things. Okay, let's continue on. Basically, what we're going to talk about today is that we're going to start again from Eis Vav, and what we're discussing essentially bringing different ways of understanding or different examples of how of this idea that really Haman's idea made sense, that there's a level of the Eibishter doesn't really care. And so therefore it made sense what he did. So let's see. We'll go back again from Eis Vav. So v'yesh lekash im hamavur b'makom achas. We connect this idea that there's a level of darkness like light. So you can imagine if darkness and light are all equal, which in simple terms it means that the good that I do and the bad that I do, it doesn't really matter. It's all equal because it's so distant from God. It's like from infinity, 1 in a million are still equally distant from infinity. What it says in somewhere else. What does it say about Achashverosh? The Achashverosh who Achash ve'rosh. It can be divided into the word Achash, like silence, and Verosh. And he explains. Chash u'milasha and shtika. Chash means quietness. It is, the Gemara says in the Gemara, my chashmo, what does the term chashmo mean? Itim chashos. Chashos. Itim memales. Sometimes it's quiet, and sometimes it's memales, it speaks. And to explain, we're going to analyze this a little bit. The quietness of a chash is above speech. Meaning, normally you think speech, being quiet because you have nothing to say, it's not good. But there's a level of speech above, a level of silence above speech. Like it says, Mila Besela, a word is worth a selah. Shtika, but being quiet is worth 2 sellers. So it's even better. And that's what we're saying. The being quiet is not, in this context, talking about it from a positive, not a negative. The Sheresh Adibur, because the source of speech, who b'chachma. Source of speech is in chachma. Ushtika, he b'keser l'mayla min. But being quiet is coming from keser, which is above chachma. So speech comes from chachma, to think what you want to say, and in being quiet in this context we're talking about, it's coming from a level that's above chachma, which is a level of keser. It's like a ratzah in your will, or like a crown, it's above the person. Remember, as like the rabbi say, siag l'chachma shtika. A siag, a fence, l'chachma is being quiet. Meaning being quiet is a good fence for being wise. But again, we're seeing the being quiet in the positive, in above chachma. The siag l'chachma, siag milashin gadio makif. Siag is like a fence, but it's also just it surrounds. It's greater. Who keser shleman mechach, which is level of keser that's above chachma. Yeah, now that we understand that in this context that being quiet has. In this context, it's a higher level than speaking. Let's connect this to what we're talking about. We connect what it says in the Medrash. Says in the Medrash, it's referring to God. That the beginning and the end is His. It says in the Medrash that Achashverosh comes to know it's referring to Hashem, because if you think about the word Achashverosh means Achris, the end, voracious, the beginning is His. So who is it? What thing is the beginning and end that's theirs? It's God. So the beginning and end is His. And therefore, Achashverosh is talking about God. Now he'll explain it. Ki Keser hu b'chlal seviv. Keser in general comes from the level of seviv. Shalamayla mishtashus, which is above sedishtashus, above nature. There has seviv kelel Achashverosh b'shaviv. Because the light of seviv, it includes within it the end and the beginning. Seviv, the end and the beginning, it doesn't. It's above all of that. Because let's say in Sedish Tashlus, so you have Atzilus, Spirit, you have all these worlds, and one is greater than the other, and one is the beginning, so to speak, one's the end. Whereas Seviv, it surrounds all of them. Not that it surrounds them like like just around them, but they don't take up space. So the Keser, Atzilus, and Asiya, that they're equally irrelevant. It's a man mistashel. It's working different wavelengths. There, seviv kelel achas reishis b'shaveh. So the achas and reishis, the beginning and the end, the level of godliness within the confined, the beginning and end, it doesn't take up space at all. Achas reishis shalei. That level, it's so to speak, it belongs to seviv kalman. It doesn't have this. So what are we essentially saying in simple English? We're saying there's a level of godliness that achas reishis shalei. That there's a level of godliness within Sedish Tash, within nature, that there's a beginning, there's an end, and what we do makes a difference. But then there's a level of godliness that's a lamayla midis, that the beginning and the end doesn't make a difference. Like we used the marshal before, like there's the ants in my ants farm that I have at home, and I look at them and I analyze them and I see what's going on and I care about them. But then there's a level of me that I don't care. Like my whole day is not consumed with these ants. And that's different levels of us. The Torah Havs, we need to understand something. The Gemara is the Achashverosh. It says in the Gemara, the Achashverosh who al Hashem. Why is it called Achashverosh? Shehushcheru, that he darkened in the faces Shal Yisrael b'yamav, of the Jewish people in their days. And then he darkened the faces of the Jewish people in their days. Meaning, it was so bitter for us, it became dark. Dark in it, like it was hard. So ve'ech zeh masim im perush Achashverosh hu mi she'Achashverosh shloi. How does this work? Is what we're saying now. That's talking about Hashem. Meaning one medrash, in the medrash is saying Achashverosh is referring to God. But then in the Gemara it says Achashverosh is referring to the suffering the Jewish people had. So how are we saying that God is making the Jewish people suffer? What's going on over here? So the explanation is like this. This is exactly the point, what we're saying. The cave on Shemitzad Seviv Shalamayl Mishtashlos, since when we're talking about the level of Seviv Kalman, which is above Sedish Tashlos, a level of godliness that's totally above the beginning and the end, what we do, above what we do. What we do doesn't really matter at that point. Light and dark are equal in front of them. On that level, Kanal Sifhei, like we said before in Sifhei, this level of being quiet, the Achashverosh is lamayla midibur. Like we said before, it's above speech. That this level, it comes down, hashtika milamata shelamata midibur. So it starts off from a high level, but it expresses itself down here on a low level. What does it mean that it expresses itself down here on a low level? That godliness is concealed. He says literal concealment. We don't see godliness. That's below revelation. Until it's like a sheep that becomes numb before it shears. Like a sheep. One of the miles of a sheep, people can always make this like joke, like a shapsala. Like, we follow it like a sheep. When a sheep goes to get sheared, it doesn't fight. It just sits there and they get sheared. So that's like a low level. Meaning not only that elikus, that godliness is not revealed, the klipa conceals, covers over the godliness. So you have godliness revealed, the godliness that doesn't irrelevant, in the whole world, and then the achas reishis, it doesn't make a difference. Then you have a level of godliness as it is expressed in there, and you have a level of godliness as it becomes quiet in a negative sense to what's going on in the world. The klipas noiga nikreis chash. This is the klipas noiga. This is the klippa that can be transformed to good or transformed to bad. It's parv, but it's on this level of chash, of this silence, that it's being silent. Things are happening and it doesn't do anything. To the point that it connects the three unclean klippas. Reish. So what we're saying is that there's different levels of godliness and different levels of expression of godliness. And the level of expression of godliness in here, and ultimately what he's saying is, and he's going to explain to it more later, but he's saying that this level of godliness is expressed in the world, and God doesn't really care. And what's happening, even though they're not good things, he doesn't care. Because we said before, what we had the question, we said in the Medrash it says, Achashverosh, oh my God. And then we're saying in the Gemara that Achashverosh caused pain for the Jewish people. So we're saying it's the same point. Because there's a level of godliness that's way above and beyond anything that happens in this world. This world doesn't make a difference. Like two ants across the street get into a fight. What do I care about ants across the street in the fight? I don't even recognize them. So, and there's a level of godliness infinitely more so than this. He doesn't care about this. That all this thing doesn't really matter. And it's irrelevant. And it's irrelevant what's going on. Or you could say, to put it in the context of why this marriage being said, that Stalin was causing problems to the Jewish people. They're essentially saying there's a level, like how's this happening? You're saying because think about it, there's a level of godliness that we don't really matter. Stalin and all the trouble that he wants to the Jewish people and the Jewish people with all their good is irrelevant. It's he's like the Sever, but even above that Achashverosh, it doesn't really matter. And therefore bad things can happen to the Jewish people, and that's what he's saying here. There's different levels of godliness, and there's a level of godliness that what we do doesn't really matter. That us being Jews and the Havdil, a guy trying to destroy the Jewish people, Haman or Stalin, it doesn't really matter. And it's irrelevant. And therefore, Haman has this svara that he realizes that he's trying to tap into this level of godliness. He's like, listen, God is real. How real is he? He's very real. And clearly there's a point of godliness that it's irrelevant what anyone does. Because it'd be foolish to say that he cares about everything all the time. There's no level of him doesn't care. There must be. On that level, if I tap into that level, then I can destroy the Jewish people. That's my chance. Which is a good svara. And that's what we're going to explain. And that's what we're going to explain tomorrow. What like this, we're going to sort of tie it back in. The Rebbe is very methodical in this matter, very clear about what he's explaining. So tomorrow, continue is design. So just let's think of something to take away. You think about it, what our level of relationship with God. I think it's something to think about is what's the answer to the question? Does God really care? And this is one of the biggest things that Mount Human talks about a lot, like that Hashem really needs your mitzvahs. And so a lot of people have a struggle with this, and I had a struggle with this for a long time. Like, what does that mean? Does God really not care? No. And for us, it's of course. Like God is way above and beyond anything. You think he cares what you do? So there's a level that he does care. He's being nice to you, and it makes a difference. But truly, it doesn't matter. And this is what Achashverosh is saying. It's true. God doesn't care, and we have to ask ourselves: do we really believe that God cares about what we do? So I don't watch Nagavasa today. It makes a difference to God, but I don't watch Nagavasa. It's like someone said once, I think to the Rabbi, maybe it was in Einstein even. He said, he thinks I think someone, like one of these people was smoking on Shabbos, and so one of these Chassidim, or I think it was the Rabbi, told him, before it was the Rabbi, told him, you can't smoke on Shabbos. He says, how can such a great God care about such a little thing? And this is what Achashverosh is saying. This is what Haman is saying. God doesn't really care. And the question is, what are we saying? What do we believe? Do we believe God really cares? Or do we believe he doesn't care? And ultimately, we should believe that he does care. But we have to understand it, because we're seeing in the story what's going on. Seems like he doesn't care. So do we continue to get the answer?